for the $44 billion acquisition. We're going to hold you to it. That trial, of course, is the key, but we don't know when that kicks off because first we got to kick off at 11 a.m. Eastern with this hearing in front of Chancellor McCormick. As you pointed out, though, it's going to be remote.
Right.
We might get a decision very quickly, as soon as today, from her in terms of when the actual trial will take place. For its part, Musk says, hey, we need time. We need time to spend investigating our claims and our belief that there are a lot more bots on the platform than Twitter says. We'll get back to the legal ramifications there in terms of even if they were able to prove something like that. And Twitter responds and says, hey, you know what? Right now, you're just trying to obfuscate. You're hurting our business. By the way, the core issue is contractually irrelevant sideshow that Musk wants to use to disparage Twitter and prolong this litigation. So his proposed schedule, they say, calculated to complicate and obfuscate. They want a trial perhaps as soon as mid-September. We'll see whether they get it. It's up to the judge's discretion entirely. October 24th is when the merger times out, but it gets extended automatically. So that's not a real date that she has to be concerned about. We don't know. Is it likely that she will go with an expedited trial? Probably, likely, but not a definite. And then, Jim and Carl, we get back to the main issues, which really will be in the trial itself as to whether Musk and his team can somehow prove not just fraud, but prove Twitter knew it, withheld it, its material, and therefore would cause a material adverse effect on its business were it having to have been known. They've got to go through a lot of different things. By the way, it all begins as well with whether they're even entitled, that is Musk, to the information under the merger agreement. So
that was a hostile bid.
It's a lot of things that they will have to prove. Skadden Arps' lawyer. Got to imagine they're telling them, even Skadden's saying, well, listen, this is not the easiest case, man.
I know you're so right. Now, having had that conversation from Paul Weiss, where I just say, hey, guys, let's no, Jim, actually.
When you've wanted to sue somebody.
Yeah. They would say.
They dissuade you from that because it might be more difficult.
Well, they often talk about how I may put down $200,000 and win a quick $2,000.
Right.
Yeah. Now, David, a couple things that I need to know.
Please.
If Ned Siegel, if the CFO
of Twitter
had 6 meetings with them and offered them everything that was available, and there's no way that he could possibly be lying, what does what does the Chancellor McCormick, what does she say to that? Is that just dismissed?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the question will still be whether she orders specific performance if the preponderance of evidence is that Twitter obeyed the merger agreement and actually Musk breached it.
Right. Now, the Deco Pack you mentioned yesterday?
Yes, the cake company that was bought by Kohlberg.
That
was her. That was a question of whether the financing could withdraw, and she said no.
So it's really not as analogous.
Because in many ways you withdrew because of the actions of the sponsor. As I said yesterday, these things change over time, they can, but right now that financing looks very solid, doesn't seem to be a concern. The question is going to be, A, when we get the trial, which we should know by today, and then B, whether or not Musk is able to go through all these things, that he was entitled to the information and didn't get it, that Twitter knew it and hid it, and it's material.
That's just lies.
Well, may or may not be.
Well, I mean, look, I made a study of Twitter. I mean, there are very few people who study Twitter like I am.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. In your spare time, you do that?
I do things.
I know you never sleep. It's helpful.
I do, and I speak.
Okay, so what was the conclusion of your study of Twitter?
My conclusion is that Chancellor McCormick is going to tell Elon Musk to go to hell.
Now, by the way, I'm still not sure what that actually means.
It means get out of my court, you joker. Because you're buying this company.
Is go to hell specific
and
performance?
And go and while you're at it, I want a Tesla. For wasting my time.
Yeah. Tesla's still incorporated in Delaware. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Be a great opinion.
Yeah.
Go to hell.
Go to hell.
By the way, while you're at it, put a shirt on. Yes.
I mean, she's not going to say, I'm so sick of you, but she's going to look at this and say, unless the whole team lied, which they didn't, go to hell. Now, should we use that term?
You know what? I kind of feel like we're done with this story now.
What, if you go to hell?
No, we're you've
We'll see what we get at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Cramer's Matt Dash coming up.